Hey, lovely, good morning. It is yet another interesting Wednesday edition of the Camnet Breakfast Show. Governance, policy, and politics is what we focus on this particular day. Interesting enough, I'm not alone in the studio. I'm joined by my co-host Miriam Kaemba, as usual, looking beautiful. Good morning, lady.
Why are you being so nice in the morning?
I haven't been nice all this while.
No, yesterday you were so mean. I am shocked, but anyway, I am glad that you're nice today. My morning is fine. It's just a little bit cold.
Yeah.
And you know, I did something worse in the morning. I had taken a cold shower.
You thought you were a robot or something.
No, you know, sometimes the doctors advise that we should get...
Miriam, this is July.
Yeah, they do. No, they
This
do.
is July.
But it's very, very good for your health. As long as immediately after taking a cold bath,
do what?
you put on something warm and have some warm tea. Yeah.
I hope you did all those things.
I have done
I
that.
don't want someone to is conditioned to listen while we are on the breakfast show. I need to make sure that we wind up this program thoroughly without any emergencies to Hilltop Hospital.
No, don't worry. That will not happen.
Interesting enough, what do we start with?
Okay, so this morning we're going to be looking at some of the trending issues that are happening in the political sector in our country. And before anyway we go into that, we'll just go direct into our health corner and just see what the doctors have for us this morning.
Good morning and welcome to the Health Corner here on the Breakfast Show. I am Dr. Nakuyana Mfaya. So this week we are talking about fibroids, and we have already discussed what are fibroids. We say that fibroids are tumors, benign tumors that grow inside the uterus or the womb or around the uterus. So these are usually caused by certain risk factors such as genetic composition. So if you have a family history of having fibroids, you are at risk of having fibroids as well. Then also your diet, if you eat so much saturated fats, you increase your risk of having fibroids. And age as well. So women who are between the age of 40 to 50 are at risk of having fibroids, but also even younger women can also have fibroids. So today I want to look at the signs and symptoms. How can you know, or what are some of the signs that you would experience to be able to tell that you are having fibroids? So usually people who have fibroids would experience what we call menorrhagia. And so this is a situation or a condition where you have your periods, but your periods are very heavy. So you have heavy menstrual bleeding. Then they might also have metorrhagia, which is where your periods usually come on a regular basis, but now they start coming at different intervals. So usually if you experience your periods every 28 days, you might start seeing irregularities in the intervals. So you might experience your periods maybe 25 days from the last period, or even sometimes might go up to 30 days. So the interval might change. Then you might also be experiencing very painful periods. So people who have fibroids might experience very painful periods. So they might have pain during their periods, and sometimes they might also experience pain when having sexual intercourse. So these are some of the symptoms of people who have fibroids. They might also notice that depending on the size of the fibroids and how big they have grown, they might notice that their stomach or their abdomen becomes distended, and so you might start looking pregnant even when you are not pregnant, because the uterus is growing in size because of the the fibroids that are growing inside. And so fibroids can vary in size. Sometimes they are very, very small, and other times they can even grow to as big as a pumpkin. So it depends on the size that you have, and if you have a very big fibroid, it might look like you are pregnant even when you are not. So these are some of the signs that people with fibroids would experience, and so make sure that you look out for some of these symptoms. If you experience any of these symptoms, then you need to go to the hospital and have yourself checked for fibroids and also other conditions that affect women that might also be causing these similar symptoms, because it's not only fibroids that can cause this, even other conditions as well can be able to cause these symptoms. So make sure you get yourself checked in the hospital to be able to get the right diagnosis and the right treatment. So tomorrow we'll talk about how fibroids are diagnosed and how they are treated in the hospital. So make sure you watch tomorrow's episode as well. If you missed the other episodes, make sure that you go back and try to watch them on my YouTube channel, which is Dr. Nakuyana Mfaya, or you can watch them on Facebook as well, on Camnet TV. So I do hope you have learned something today. I will see you again tomorrow. Stay healthy.
Well, there you have it. That is Dr. Mufaya, and explaining what she knows best, and that's giving us health tips pertaining to various health issues. Every time we do emphasize that you too can give us recommendations on what she can work on so that you can get informed. Remember to always keep up with a health lifestyle, because this weather is also conducive for diseases such as flu, cough, as well as generally, let me just say, the COVID-19 pandemic thrives in this weather. And we have seen that the Zambia rather has started recording cases of COVID-19, and thus this is an indication that we need to make sure that we also take COVID-19 preventive measures to avoid us being caught in this flu that has come. And we need to make sure that when we notice some symptoms of COVID-19, we take proactive measures. Also visit the nearest health center. Make sure that we mask up to protect our friends and loved ones so that we do not spread the infections. So COVID-19 is back, but remember to always also be taking exercises, and taking exercises is important this time, especially when it's cold, because it helps your body to keep fit, and you make sure that you do just that. Now, at the moment, we are also now going to look at some of the stories that are making the headlines. And interesting enough, wow, yesterday we were looking at an interesting story that was coming from the Lusaka province chairman, Obvious Mwaliteta, where he was discouraging issues of impunity and acts of lawlessness pertaining to political cadres. We saw that some traders at Lusaka's Komesa market have called on the government to restore sanity at the trading place after they were allegedly swindled out of 2,000 kwacha for market space allocation. One of the traders alleges that he has constantly been threatened when she queries about the trading space, despite Mr. Kachingwe, alleged to be a market chairman, receiving payment 1 month ago.
Quite interesting. Anyway, issues of cadreism in marketplaces, just like we were looking at yesterday, we have seen that the trend has continued. But anyway, before we move direct into playing that story, let us look at our money market.
Exactly. Now, the $1 is buying at 18 kwacha 17 ngwe and selling at 18 kwacha 53 ngwe. The Greater British Pound is buying at 23 kwacha 44 ngwe and selling at 23 kwacha 90 ngwe. The euro is buying at 19 kwacha 96 ngwe and selling at 20 kwacha 36 ngwe. The South African rand is buying at 0.98 ngwe and selling at 1 kwacha. Those are your money market updated as of 12 July 2023 at 0710. And this is how the financial institution that we monitor in terms of the financial market looks like. But they do vary from one financial institution to the other, and one bureau de change to the other, but they don't differ much. It's just some cents. And if you want to change your dollars or your kwacha into other currencies, that is how it is performing, and that's how you'll be exchanging the rate.
It's a good time when you have some dollars and you try to change them into kwacha. You have some few monies in your pockets.
And do you save some dollars as well?
I do, Patrick, but this is not a sign that you should come and rob me. But I do. I do.
It's not an invitation.
No, it's not an invitation.
Interesting. I thought it is only prudence who has dollars. Even you have got dollars as well.
Well, it's never a bad idea. I always try to keep some dollars here and there. You never know.
But I can guarantee you that President Aga will shock you with the kwacha goes to 15
Not now.
Interesting. So those are your money market, or dear viewers, and that's how the kwacha is performing. So we are seeing that it has been on a depreciating side as of recent weeks, and we hope that it will continue to stabilize through the mechanisms the Bank of Zambia and the Minister of Finance are putting in place to make sure that the currency is stabilized. Overall, currency stability is vital towards steering national development. Hence, we just hope that authorities are doing everything possible to make sure that we have a stable currency so that we can have a strong buying power. Like I always emphasize, addressing currency issues also hinges on how productive the country is. So it is a reflection of how the country should be. Now, talking about national productivity, there are quite interesting aspects that we need to look at as a country. Among the key factors is to make sure that the mining sector starts operating efficiently. But however, sad enough, we have seen that illegal mining is also prominent and taking place, and that is not good for the country. But how do we maximize revenue collection if minerals are being mined without regulations? So we saw that, for instance, matters pertaining to Sujilite there, and we saw the dismissal of the minister of Wapura province. And these are some of the issues that we tend to derail Zambia's progress pertaining to mining development. Now, what we are looking at is also making sure that the Konkola copper mines, KCM and Mopani mines are also revived to be able to work at optimum level, to be able to contribute towards the mining portfolio of this country, because these are critical mines and that are vital towards us maximizing the export profile. Now, if they continue to remain in limbo in terms of their operations, like for instance the discussion between the Ministry of Mines and Vedanta has continued to drag, but what does that mean for the people of Copper Belt? We have written stories here, and we are even tired, so to say, about how this the closure of KCM, or the inefficient operation of KCM is undermining the economy of the Copper Belt there. We have been writing stories about this. We have been given deadlines, and also we have seen, for instance, that we were assured that the previous quarter this issue was going to be done away with. That was not addressed. So now, if we are going to make progress to address mining issues and also making sure that we maximize our revenue correction and also strengthening our kwacha, the mining sector is among key sectors of the economy, considering that in terms of non-traditional exports, we do not do much. So if we continue to maximize on our traditional exports, such as copper, we may go a long way towards stabilizing the currency. That's one component of what we need to do to make sure that the kwacha is strengthened. Overall, the non-traditional exports also have to be enhanced for us as a country to be able to make a lot of traction and progress and be able to strengthen our currency and to be able to position ourselves as a hub for trade. And we seek to be a hub for many things. I remember how Miriam Kaimba, when I was covering the Minister of Science and Technology, Felix Mutati, he was also highlighting the fact that Zambia has to become a digital hub of the region. And others will tell you Zambia has to become a steel hub. Zambia has to become a hub for everything.
Everything, now, indeed.
But also that is commensurate with how we are doing that in terms of the practical aspect, because they say talk is cheap.
Yeah.
You know, we need to implement.
We need more action.
Exactly.
We need more action. But anyway, all in all, there's need for, more advanced technology in Zambia. As you can see, this is the 21st century, and we are in a digital era, so yes, we have to move with the world as a country.
Exactly. Yeah. Moving with the globe is vital, and that's what we are talking about if we are to effectively develop as a country. Now, earlier before we looked at the money market, I was looking at a story, and this is among the stories that we are focusing our discussions on, and that's where traders at Lusaka's Comesa market have called on the government to restore sanity at the trading place after they were allegedly swindled out of 2,000 kwacha for the market space allocation. Let's get a look at this story.
Whether or not cadres are still existing in markets and other public places despite President Hakainde Hichilema's directives for them to vacate is the order of the day. Some traders at Lusaka's Comesa market have called on the local authorities to provide oversight on their operations, stating that 2 women alleged to be Congolese nationals and a Mr. Kachingwe, believed to be the market chairman, have swindled them 2,000 kwacha each for allocation of trading space in the market, which has not happened. One of the victims explains to this journalist that each time the alleged market chairman is questioned about the allocation of trading space after payment was made a month ago, the chairman offloads threats to the victims. They are calling on government to intervene in the matter as they have been chased from their points of operation.
So letani ndalama tunawapasa matupini debo chabe 1 week atichoka mponi so hapana kwanisa 1 month nilibepo gulisira bana kunyumba bali na njala ndalama banatenga nibwezere ndalama swafuna kunibwezera watenga zingati ndalama anatenga 2,000
telling them that no, we are going to give you a space where you can trade. At the end of the day they eat that money, and we have even the audio where somebody was saying we entered that place so that we should be eating. And there are a lot of people who are suffering there. There are Zambians who are suffering there. There are a lot of Zambians who are suffering there. So we want to say, because our president has emphasized that he doesn't want people to be harassing their fellow friends over the allegation of, oh no, this one is a UPND cadre, this one is a PF cadre.
As chairman alemba abantu amashina abakweta ali 10 amashopu abakweta ali 20 ngabalemba filano kuya mkulande okwebati mukese mbona abaperana namba nefo fyapo afwe nefo bashitire amalo muri amukomesa tapali file chitika tule chula fye na nomba tulero lela ine pamonga national leader ifipe fyandi tampela yonse kuchula na fyo kulu yonse ngawa yako kukuchita 13 nomba fo tuinge kala mu market ine pamongo mwina Zambia abale bomba muri mu market bana mayo mafole na yeka umwina Zambia tapudi so ine chondelira batu afuirishe.
I own a shop at Comesa Market, but I was surprised when I was moving with my colleague Francis to see a lady by the name of Gina. I don't know if she's a thug. I don't know. She just started beating me. In the process, I ran to the police to go and report. She hit me with blows, but I couldn't return. I just ran to the police.
While fuming, an alleged female chief market security officer threatened to manhandle the traders believed to have been swindled 2,000 kwachas each. Some of the traders rushed to Comesa police post for safety. The alleged security officer says the accusations by the traders are unfounded.
What's your issue?
My issue is bamene bachita reporting ngati kuti vantu vamene vanaluvyanya ngati muntu anabera muntu ndrama lekani vamuchita report ku police not kwamboipya vantu vonse atichita anachipa vantu vanaluvyanya vintu vaso. No, we don't tolerate that. Ero vantu vasezitete report ya boza. We started this Comesa market 1998. 1998 tenze kukamwala kunjanji.
Camnet TV keenly follows any development in this matter. Nelson Zulu for Camnet News, Lusaka.
Welcome back. You are watching the Camnet Breakfast Show with me, Patrick Soko, and Miriam Kaimba. And we were looking at some of the stories making the headlines. That's the story there that is bringing us to the issue of the day. Miriam Kaimba, talking about ending cadarism in markets and buses. Are we going to end these acts of impunity?
From the look of things, we still have a very, huge task to do as a country, Patrick Soko, despite the several warnings that we have seen coming from the head of state and other relevant authorities. It's sad that this trend has continued in markets, and not only markets, as well as bus stop. But the question is, what is the lasting solution? What is it that we need to do in order for us to effectively address this situation? This now comes upon to those who are trading in the market. What action are they themselves taking? Okay, we are not going to say we are going to leave it to government. The president won't be there every time to say, no, because is there cadarism? No, you need to act. If you see any form of cadarism in the markets, go and report to the relevant authority, because this is something that the president condemned and is not going to tolerate.
I've also noticed something that in most facilities like markets and bus stations, we also have police posts there.
Yeah.
But it seems like police posts are not effective in these facilities. Probably they work with these leaders of these markets. How do you able? Because, for example, how are people not finding it easy to complain within the police stations that are near there? Exactly. So I think those are issues on our part we also seek to engage authorities on. Because I remember that we had a similar incident pertaining when we were just at the change of administration, where people were saying that in fact the police were working with these people. So even if you take your matter there, you end up being the one to be arrested. And they will find a charge. There's a charge they give I will remember the charge. Okay, it's a common charge Okay, anyway, but I have to make sure that I remember.
Please make sure that you remember it.
It's a common charge they will give you. It's like related to indiscipline, but they will instead give you the charge when you go to report, as opposed to you being the complainant.
The complainant and being helped. And being helped by the police. It's sad. And do you think maybe the police are allegedly working together with these cutters in the markets?
No, historically, even President Ichilema has also stated that, there are some bad elements, and that's the bad elements are the ones that are even the previous and the current Inspector General of Police have categorically stated to say they do not condone. I was attending a press conference for the Zambia Police Commission. The Police Commission is also aware of some of the illegal activities that some police officers engage in. Miriam Kaimba, it is just within this period of 2 months or 1 month, you and I, we have covered stories which have been given to us by the Police Public Relations Unit pertaining to police officers get involved in criminal activities like robberies. You've seen that those stories have surfaced in the media, and these officers are facing the wrath of the law. You see, but so those bad elements are always there in these systems. But now the question is, how do we fish out these bad elements? For me, I'm a bit relieved because the Inspector General of Police also underscored the need to undertake reforms and make sure that police officers are retrained on human rights. In some of the issues the police is working on, and You know, if police seek the approach of safeguarding the interests of citizens, I don't think we are going to be facing an escalation of such cases. Like we are saying, we find this at Comesa Market, that story we were looking at. You saw probably that we had a police post there near.
Just behind the woman who was complaining that don't paint everyone bad. If you find you're in a conflict with someone, please report them. Not everyone is bad. But behind her, there was a police post. And we wonder why people didn't take advantage of that police.
So people are being swindled in full view of the police. But does it mean probably the people have no confidence there? Because they need to report to that police first of all.
Yeah, that's a very good question.
Then us, we should come in later. We can only maybe follow up later. But the police is just near there to say, we've been swindled. Yeah. We need our money. Like before, that woman, she says our belongings have been taken. There are some people using impunity, and that every time they are intimidating them. So you see,
exactly, and you know, given the fact that like you put it, there's a lady who's complaining that some people are using impunity to take advantage and get items of other people. That tells you one thing, that they do not have confidence in the law. Okay, they are afraid that if they go to report to the police, like you said, they'll be given a charge, and instead of them being helped because they are the victims in this case. So now, what does that tell you? That tells you that the government needs to come on board and ensure that these bad elements are removed. For example, if they notice that this officer here at Comesa Market is working in line with these cadres, why don't you remove him?
I now remember the charge. The charge is conduct.
Conduct.
They will call it conduct. Conduct likely to breach the peace. They will charge you with conduct. You remember when we were
disorderly conduct.
Disorderly conduct. So
to breach the peace.
Yes, so that's the common charge. So when you go and report that and your voice is high there, you are busy shouting, I want justice, I want conduct. Disorderly conduct.
But that's very sad. But anyway, moving on, talking about human rights, we also did see another story from Nelson Zulu, who did a story from the police, and the police spokesperson Ray Amonga has refuted claims from some section of society that Republican President Hakainde Hichilema has been giving orders to the police officers. Featuring on Camnet TV current affairs program National Matters, Mr. Amonga says police officers take operations independently without internal hands. So this is external hands.
Let's get that.
Stakeholders in the country have been weighing in on the alleged human rights concerns raised in the 2022 U.S. report on human rights for Zambia. In the scope of opposition political players, it is political persecution, and to those in authority, the rule of law is prevailing. But Patriotic Front Deputy Publicity and Information Chairperson Emmanuel Mwamba, during a Camnet TV current affairs program dubbed National Matters on Monday, says the country is in unprofessional hands of police officers. Mr. Mwamba says the U.S. report stands out as a true reflection of the country's human rights and alleges that there are still unlawful detentions being made without following the due process of the law.
Why I was picked by the police up to now, I don't understand. Why charges have been laid against me, I still don't understand. We have a catalogue of people that are detained. You know, I love what the head of state says, President Hakainde Hichilema. He says, first, don't arrest before you investigate. Then he says, don't keep someone in police detention more than 24 hours or 48 hours, or arraign them before courts of law. That is not happening.
Meanwhile, on the same platform, Ministry of Information and Media Director spokesperson Tabo Kawana says assertions by Mr. Mwamba are false.
I will tell you, because I've taken keen interest on his case, because this man rarely tells the truth. The issue is when he was found at the car wash, when he was found at the car wash, they identified themselves, and they asked him to escort them to the police, and he refused. So that is scarf of pulling each other. It was him who kumbatira chipo, and that's how they were now dragging him. Said, no, we have to go together. They identified themselves as police. But Emmanuel's story is his honest version of the story.
And police spokesperson Ray Hamonga says the police is exhibiting professionalism in its operations, further quashing allegations of receiving orders from external hands.
Abused by the politicians, but the president has a role to play in defending the constitution. If it's within the confines of the constitution, yes, the president has powers to do that, to give orders to the institution to do what is right according to the constitution. Of course, we have a guideline that we're supposed to follow and which we endeavor at each and every time to ensure that we follow it. When we opened here, I mentioned that when people see a police officer, they should see hope. They should see a protector of human rights. And that's what we endeavor as police. And that's what we actually stand for. Of course, certain things may happen here and there, but to make it clear, we as police officers, we are human rights defenders. You cannot talk of human rights without talking of police. Because the police is the #1 defender of human rights. And
Mr. Hamonga also says concerns raised in the U.S. Human Rights Report for 2022 are not conclusive.
the issue of the U.S. report. The U.S. report says it is reportedly, meaning it's not conclusive. Okay? Some of these things that you are saying that it is reportedly. Even the issue of Rizwan has not come to a police saying like he came to report, like this matter which is being looked at by us as police. We didn't receive any complaint from him, formal complaint. Or what we are seeing are things which are being posted on social media. Now, social media is not an adjudicator for such things.
Nelson Zulu for Camnet News, Lusaka.
Quite interesting. Quite interesting. But you know, one thing I find very funny.
What is it?
Did Mr. Kawana just say that Mr. Momba was holding on to a pole?
Kuchito kumbajira jipo. Sinienda. I'm not good. But that's Mr. Kawana there. An interesting story there by Nelson Zuru, and that's how tense it was on National Matters on Monday. And
I'm glad that you know, government was there, the police was there, and also Mr. Mwamba from the opposition, yes, but also he was a victim in this case. He was there, so we were able to get a clear picture and just see what transpired and what the law also entails. And the police, because we have seen allegations on the police, you know, people claiming that the police are being ordered by the president, and we saw the police, you know, clarifying that we know what, we are not being ordered by the president to act on certain cases. We're operating independently. We are glad that we did that. We could, you know, get more clarification on that.
Yeah, interesting story indeed. You too, or dear viewers, in case you want to get in touch, you can do so to give us your views and comments on the Camnet Breakfast Show. You can leave us a message on our social media platforms. Remember that we are streaming live on Facebook, this program. And also you can check us out on our YouTube channel, where we are also streaming live, and leave us a message and we get interacting. In case you want to call us now, we can get discussing the stories that we are looking at this morning here on the Camnet Breakfast Show. Interesting story it was, Miriam, because talking about human rights issues are very important in this country, and
around the globe.
We have to always continuously look at it to make sure that we improve human rights. Overall, if we improve our human rights, it means that we are keen to create a better society, because a society where there is rampant rights violation is not governable, and it dehumanizes people. So we have to continuously make sure that our human rights profile does improve all the time.
And you know, talking about human rights and also the needs for the police to act independently, one other concern we have seen coming from the opposition members for quite some time is that, you know, the president, despite being on record, making it clear that before the police makes an arrest, they need to investigate thoroughly before they arrest someone. But we have seen opposition members claiming that I'm being arrested, and later on, this is when the police are doing their investigations. I don't know how we can deal with that concern.
So I think that's a continuous issue. But I know there are quite a number of issues, but those that come out, I think that's because some people are exposed, like politicians, you know, they are public figures, so it's easy for us to know. But if you go in these communities, they are citizens. As of today, we are talking about whose rights are being infringed upon.
Someone who has been in jail maybe for 6 months, not taken to court.
And maybe probably it's a bondable case.
Yes.
But they don't know what to go about it. The family is being advised to say blink and something so that we can help you release your relative.
Imagine.
And you know, so the family doesn't have money, they don't know they don't have a rightful person who is fixed aboard to help them get a police bond. As a result, their relative may be rotting in jail. Now, I think for me that is a prejudgment. If we were going to let people spend more time in police cells, I think it is prejudgment, because you are being judged twice. You are judged by the police, you remain incarcerated. Then you'll be judged by the court when they offer you a sentence.
They convict you.
So that, for me, is something we need to be looking at as a country. So more people, you know, that there are people, Miriam, who still think that police bond in Kulipira.
Yeah, and you know the funny part, Soko, is that every time you go to court, you find simple matters which are bailable and bondable. Someone was denied bond at the police station. Maybe they stole 100 kwacha. Something worth 100 kwacha. And you know, one time I was covering a case, I think that was in 2022, 2021. This person was brought to court, and apparently they had stolen in one of the shop something which was worth 100 kwacha. And you know what the magistrate said? He said, there's no way we would continue keeping this person for 2 weeks in police custody. These other people, what you need to do is punish them. Give them a certain punishment. For example, you tell them every day you'll be waking up to come and sweep the judiciary. Maybe at the magistrate court or at high court. They give you, you know, these other civil duties that you can do. That, Patrick Soko intends, will tell you that, you know what, if I steal again, I'll be given this punishment. No one would want to wake up every day in the morning and sweep the whole Lusaka magistrate court.
I remember
that would be punishment enough for them.
I did interview the Minister of Justice there. He was expressing concern over those issues. He said that they are working at alternative sentences. I think under alternative sentences, those are things that we are looking at. For example, like you were saying, some punishments that does not need someone to be confined. So someone can be punished by doing community work. That someone can be punished by doing something they are not comfortable with. You see? So then when they serve their punishment, they would have learned their lesson, and they may not return to bad ways. So we have to be looking at various ways of reforming people. So if we are serious about improving this situation, because at the end of the day, if you look at we don't need to be building more and more prisons. Then it means we are deliberately creating an environment for crime.
Exactly.
But what we need to do is to work on crime prevention.
Exactly.
So if we work on crime prevention and also make sure that the existing prisons are just upgraded to a conducive environment, and make sure that, for example, this issue of alternative sentences is also actualized, we will be able to make progress and address congestion. Because the number of inmates in these facilities outweighs the capacity of the facilities. So we have to make sure that we holistically address these issues.
And you know, just talking about the prisons, that's why we no longer call them prisons, we call them correctional facilities. So we send someone there to reform. With these small cases where maybe they have stolen a chicken and they're sentenced to prison for 6 months, you are not helping them to reform. What you're doing them is just making them, you know, come there, hard cause, and you know, immediately they come out, they won't be changed people. They'll go and, you know, do high crimes. That's the sad part. Okay, so there's need, like you said, to, you know, to find other alternatives to ensure that we address this situation, and we don't build or see later on in Zambia where there's high crime levels in the country. We don't want to see that. Anyway, moving forward, we have another story From Zimbabwe, presidential hopeful Xavier Kasukuwere, who charged that African leaders must move away from the mentality of using colonial tactics, which include violence, to gain political office. Quite interesting.
Let's look at it.
Yeah.
And obviously, as I said yesterday to some colleagues that, when you're a white person and someone calls you a racist, because you're white, you can't even deny that I'm not a racist. Because by nature of being white, you are told, everybody thinks you are a racist. I was in Zambia. Yes, indeed, I was a youth leader. I was a minister in government. And collectively, we must accept that a lot of things were wrongly done. We take full responsibility and we apologize for those things. And that is the fact. We can't run away from that. I think a lot of injury happened. And that's why I'm talking about the reconciliation process, underpinned by an open and transparent acknowledgement of what he did. And I have said, one of the first things that I would do is to set up a national reconciliation process, of which I must be the first one also to be asking, like you're asking me. And I'll refer you to the Human Rights Watch, which was authored by the late Dewa Mavinga, may he so rest in peace. It captures the violence in the graphic. It captures the actors. And the beauty about it, my name is not involved.
So Mr. Kasukuwere is also a former minister in the Mugabe regime who observed that politics of violence started way back in the colonial days as the country was fighting for independence, but says this must not be allowed to continue in this day and era. He says politicians must now embrace politics of unity, and further says one of his priority when voted into office will be to bring reconciliation in the country. He said this, he was speaking rather during a conference in Lusaka Monday evening. Quite interesting views.
Yeah,
there.
so this is a leader who wants to become a president in Zimbabwe, this opposition leader. However, that question was asked by one of the participants.
Who challenged him, rather.
Yes, he was... there were a lot of Zimbabweans at Intercontinental Hotel where he was hosting his meeting. And they were asking him to say, you were part of the violence that was taking place under ZANU-PF. But what did you do about it? And we were coming back to us and tell us about us voting for you. They challenged him and he was responding to that, and he said that they need to put up a peace and reconciliation commission to address those issues and matters pertaining to violence.
But that is a very good question that was raised by one of the attendees there. We have seen for quite some time, not only in Zimbabwe but other African countries, politicians will come and tell you this today, but tomorrow they do the opposite thing.
You're right. You are right. So, I was wondering to say, so he's come to the diaspora. He wants to seek votes from Zimbabweans in the diaspora.
Exactly.
So that they can go back to their country and go and vote for him there. He was actually talking about quite a number of issues. And you see, he was also asked to say, but... what different things do you want to bring on the table? Quite challenging questions they was being asked there. He said, no, we need to create a better Zimbabwe, as usual. So the Zimbabweans there were in attendance. They raised quite a number of questions on this opposition leader. But ultimately, for me, the lesson is that whatever is happening in Zimbabwe, it's like... the DNA in Zimbabwe is similar to Zambia. If you look at issues of violence, Miriam Kaimba, we have also been talking about violence. So political scenarios are similar in these countries. So even them, like him, was being accused to say, you were part of this administration. What did you do about it? And why do you want us to vote for you? So in Zambia, even here, we had a lot of concerns pertaining to violence. For example, no election has been held without incidents of political violence. That is for the record. we have always had violence, but although we are progressing and in terms of it's reducing. But however, we have seen a lot of people who have also died as a result of political violence.
Yeah, like in 2021, we saw people dying from both the major two political parties, which is the UPND and the PFU. So we saw a lot of people being killed from this violence, and we saw a lot of people being prosecuted in relation to these crimes, which matters which are currently before the courts of law. Quite interesting there. But during, anyway, I was very impressed that in the by-elections like Mukushi, Luposonshi and Stan, we didn't see much violence there. Though there were some few pockets of violence, but they were not as rampant as we experienced it during the general elections in 2021.
You are right.
Yeah.
So now, let's also look at a story where the National Union of Public and Private Educators of Zambia, NUPEZ, has expressed a disappointment at the fact that Lusaka City has remained the dirtiest town in Zambia, despite all government ministries being housed in Lusaka. Addressing the press in Lusaka Tuesday, NUPEZ Executive President Victor Muyumba says the line ministry tasked with the responsibility of keeping the city clean has failed its duties, and that the union will take it upon itself to find the solution to the problem. And Mr. Muyumba says the country needs a mindset change, and the union has since proposed that the country should come up with a day in which people should park their vehicles, either walk and cycle for work to reduce carbon emissions.
Interesting.
So this is where the union is proposing a progressive ideas pertaining to the city management and its cities issues pertaining to climate change, and also issues pertaining to sanity in the CBD. So let's get to look at this story.
Over the past few years, Lusaka province has gained itself a record of being the dirtiest city in Zambia, with litter filling nearly every part of the central business district, drainages, and even homes. The National Union of Public and Private Educators of Zambia, NUPEZ, is since disappointed with government's failure to manage waste in Lusaka, despite all government ministries being housed in the province.
Politicians are extensively traveled. They have moved. Unless they come to tell me that the cleanliness they have seen elsewhere is as a result of accident. I need to learn about that. Is it by accident or is it by decision making? What are we waiting for? Or who are we waiting for? Here is a restaurant, here is a garbage heap, and flies are all over. People are eating and watching flies. It's just like that. How do you expect to be healthy? NIMA, National Health Insurance Management Authority, will tell you that the money that you take there has been depleted already. Why is it depleted? Because we're a sick country, and sick because of debt. Go even to healthy institutions, clinics and hospitals, places where you expect it to be healed. If you go there healthy, you come back sick. If it's not flu, it's a headache or any other. Why? Because places are dead.
The union has since proposed to the government measures to be put in place to manage carbon emission and protect the environment.
Why should a district be dirty where you have the mayor, you have the district commissioner? Okay, why should Lusaka be dirty where you have all the ministries housed in here? We propose then that the Ministry of Local Government, the Ministry of Green Economy and Environment, the Ministry of Labor, the Ministry of Education should come up with a team that is going to bring about institutional change, that is going to bring about mindset change, that is going to conscientize the public in terms of how we should be clean going forward. Let's have campaigns.
The union has also challenged government to effect automatic upgrade of in-service teachers who have obtained higher qualifications, adding that this process has been long overdue.
We propose that they do a qualifications audit, and this is supposed to be done per district, meaning a circular is supposed to be done to all the structures up to district level, that each district is supposed to do a qualifications audit, and that this audit should simply be about those that have got education-related degrees but have not been placed correctly. It should go with subject combination. The other issue they need to embark on is that of needs assessment.
The union has since pledged to continue speaking on matters that affect the country without fear or favor. Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Quite interesting views there coming from Nupes. And, you know, just looking at the last picture we saw from that story, Patrick Soko, I think their call is on firm ground. Lusaka is dirty. Let's not even massage ourselves.
If you look at those
we have been talking about Keep Zambia Clean campaign. I have not seen an improvement ever since we started.
For me, I think it is failure to take serious and drastic measures. That's why we are where we are, Miriam. If you look, we needed to take drastic measures in that, for example, issues pertaining to venting, we needed to have restored sanity by now. We have failed to do that. We needed to make sure that that monthly cleaning exercise is sustained and even probably reduced to weekly cleaning exercises or every Saturday. We used to do that. We were supposed to be doing that, and not just in the CBDs, in various communities, but supervised by various local leaders. But we are not doing that. So now, how do we expect change?
And you know, talking about vending, we saw when the PF came into power after taking over from MMD, they did promise that, you know, there will be no street vending, but after coming into power,
there is no way everywhere can be turned into a market. Place,
and if it's Cairo Road, that street needs to be empty, you know, clean. But it's sad that it has been, you know, occupied. You are even failing to pass.
Yeah, so a lot of lawlessness continues to take place in Lusaka.
We have seen people calling for more markets. We have seen government building more markets. And also the sad part, you know, Patrick, is that almost everyone wants to be in the CBD. There are markets in the compound, but people are not occupying those market spaces. If you go there, if you go today in Kanyama, you'll find a lot of markets are empty. No one is occupying those markets.
The city market is not fully occupied. But people opt to
and you know this mindset that nikankalira pasogoro bazanigura fast.
No,
but I'll tell you something, that if everyone is in the market, people will be forced to go to the market because everyone is there. That is how it's supposed to be. Trust me, Soko, if everyone is in the market, no one will be found on the street to buy. People will be forced to go in the market and follow the people.
But if you are going to those people, you know, they want to make it convenient for people, so they would follow people where they are dropping from in terms of buses.
No, but it's illegal. It's illegal to make it convenient for us. They should follow the law and go back to the market.
But that is where there is money, Miriam.
No.
What justification do you have?
It's illegal. They should go back to the market. Okay, now you are telling me that government should stop building markets.
But I'm just telling you to say, for me, I want to make sure, for example, where you are trading from. That's where I should take you immediately drop in a bus, you should be able to see a pair of tokens there so that you are able to buy easily. You don't have to walk that far to see the market. No,
that shouldn't be like that. Then there will be no sanity. A marketplace should be a marketplace. Imagine if we had police officers in everywhere, what we find them, there was no designated police post, even a media institution. How are we going to operate as a country? There will be chaos. So they need, that's the more reason why we have markets in place. The markets are built for those intended purposes, for people to trade there. But if people are not trading from those marketplaces, then what's the purpose of building those markets?
Miriam, if I can
again, we are using resources to build those markets.
But Miriam, if I can manage to be mobile and be able to be moving and I'm selling and I'm making money, is this also a problem? Because my movements are my tires for me to move up and about to make sure that I have convenient business. Why are you refusing?
No, I'm refusing because it's illegal for you to trade outside because you're a vendor, and you know the right environment that was placed for you by the government is for you to trade in the marketplace. That's why you were given
in the market
place.
Okay,
and again, you know what? This is stealing because you need to pay revenue to the council.
For me, I'm putting myself in the shoes of a vendor. I want to bring it to your perspective, Mayor. So that's probably, as we discussed, you should have a broader understanding. Together we exchange knowledge, whether it is you who is making logic or myself. Because for me, my thinking is that, for example, I have like a small capital. In the same capital, which is maybe a capital of 100 kwacha, you want me to start paying a 10 kwacha to the market, to the council, and again I should pay another 5 kwacha to cadres probably.
But when you go in the street, probably you pay much money to the cadres than to the council.
No, I want to pay cadres. I want to pay the council.
But you pay much to the cadres because the cadres, this cadre will pass, will collect money from you. The other cadre will pass, will collect, and that is what is happening.
No, but at least I will work with one cadre. But I would pay 5 kwacha. I would save with 5 kwacha.
That's the sad part. And you know what? That money that you are paying to the council, it is helping to maintain the city clean, where you are trading from clean. The council needs to ensure that they come and clean where you're trading from, collect those garbages. But if you're not going to pay those levies,
I'm sure even the cadres have
we seen the cadres doing that?
Of paying the garbage collection.
Have we seen cadres doing that? That's the more reason why we are seeing our cities very dirty, because garbages are everywhere. No one is paying attention, and people are saying, well, Lusaka City Council, but when we have done stories,
but my other argument,
and we have done stories where people only call on the Lusaka City Council and not the cadres who are collecting those levies.
But my other argument, Miriam, would be people are willing to buy. I'm not forcing them to buy. They are buying. Unless if they're not buying, but they are buying. So it means for me, I'm following where people are buying. Should I get stuck in that market where people are not frequenting? I would also rather follow the others who are selling outside.
But if we're going to talk about sanity, bringing sanity to our city, what is the right mechanism that we need to put in place?
For me, my interest may not be about sanity. The interest would be about me and feeding my family.
But when you go in the market, do you think you won't feed your family? Because people still follow you there.
But they are follow because you yourself, you have been telling the set. People don't even reach inside. They buy from those who are outside.
Exactly. It's because everyone is there. But if everyone goes back to the market, do you think people won't follow?
Who is going to bring everyone? Who is going to take everyone in the market?
That's the duty now of the local authority to ensure that those markets that they are building, they are constructing right now, because they are using revenue to construct those markets. We should see that revenue to be working. We just can't build a structure and leave it there. People abandoned it and go and trade from the street. Then what was the purpose of putting up that structure? We are wasting money. Those are the arguments. We are wasting money. Why should you call for more markets if you're not going to trade in those marketplaces? Build a structure, abandon it. An example I'd give you, it's like you're complaining of paying rentals every day, but you build your own house, you abandoned it, you leave it. You're not even staying there. You haven't even put anyone to rent in that house.
You're trying to convince me.
You know,
but you are attempting to convince me. But I'm also giving you a logic of my explanation.
I'm attempting to convince you.
But I was trying to also give you my logic of my explanation.
Patrick, you want to build a house, abandon it, not even put anyone to rent in that house and tell them, you know what?
Okay, now the other question I'll ask Miriam is this. Why do you think it is difficult it's easy for people to use charcoal and not a gas stove?
Well, it's because a lot of people have grown up, you know, with using charcoal, and the gas stove was just recently introduced to them. So a lot of people are not convenient and know how to use them. A lot of them are not conversant with using, you know, the gas stove. But now we have seen that that there's a lot of advocacy, and people are coming on board to help people understand that, you know, gas stove is better than charcoal. Because if we use more charcoal, we are contributing to climate change and so on and so forth.
Now, additionally to your response would be, how easy do I find charcoal, or how difficult do I find gas? Or how easy do I find gas? How easy do I find charcoal? That's my question to you.
Well, charcoal is readily available for anyone. You just walk through.
And that's how I want to operate as a vendor. That's how I want to operate as a vendor.
But you cannot apply.
I have to be readily available. You don't have to look for me to go get on a bus to go and buy at the nearest fueling station.
But
you have to be readily available.
You cannot give an example of charcoal to the market. Okay? Why am I saying so? Even charcoal traders, when you go at as if you are heading toward PHI, as if you are heading toward PHI, you will see that there's a group of individuals there trading as charcoal sellers. They are at once at one particular place. They are all there together, and it's a market. Okay, they are at that one particular place. You won't find this one has his own items, his own bags of charcoal. The other one few kilometers. No, they are trading at the same place together. It brings us back. Why don't we see traders trading together at a city market?
Just next to your home, if you go by the corner, you'll find someone selling charcoal. And that's how, as vendors, we operate. We make sure that where you want to go,
okay, now,
that's where you find us.
Now, my other question is, why then should government continue building markets? For me, if people are not going to operate in those markets, don't you think we are wasting resources?
For me, whether you are wasting resources, I think that may not be my business. But as long as I'm able to trade, whether you want to continue with that trajectory, that's your baby to nest. But as long as I'm providing this convenient service, as a vendor, when you just drop off on the bus,
but that service is illegal because you are trading at a place which you are not supposed to trade. And this is where we saw back in then. Previously, where traders had their things confiscated by council officers, and they were complaining, but because they were found trading at wrong places.
So, a summary of this, Miriam, is that I was just trying to make you understand how these people think.
Exactly.
Except they do, but you understand.
Yeah.
But so, is it my business, for example, if I'm a vendor or it is government duty? So you just illustrated that government overall has to do that. But people always find a way to
convince themselves
to do things that are convenient to them. It is the government to always monitor and keep people in check.
In check, exactly.
So that the illegality does not thrive. But if you are going to create this conducive environment for me to do those illegal things, then I'll do those illegal things.
Yeah.
That's the way it is, because, for example, the law does not support vending. But if we are not going to enforce that law, people always find an alternative.
Exactly.
So that's the argument I was just trying to illustrate to you. But overall, you and I know very well that keeping the city clean is a responsibility of everyone, and we have to make sure that we erase this negative perception that Lusaka is the dirtiest city.
It's the dirtiest city.
We need to make sure, and it should start with us. It should bother us. We should get concerned and make sure that we contribute towards building a better society.
Exactly. Anyway, moving forward, we did see another story from the courts where the Lusaka Chief Resident Magistrate Davis Chiwili warned independent Lumezi area Member of Parliament Monia Zulu to attach seriousness to his criminal case, as lack of it will result in more consequences. The magistrate issued the warning to the lawmaker shortly after granting him a 200,000 kwacha bail in his own recognizance, with 2 working sureties in the similar condition. On Friday, the 7th of July 2023, Magistrate Chiwili revoked Mr. Zulu's police bond. In a case, he is facing 3 counts of libel and fined him 200 kwacha for contempt of court. Anyway, let's get to look at that story. The subordinate court could not go without sending a strong warning to independent Lumezi area Member of Parliament Monia Zulu shortly after granting him bail. Lusaka Chief Resident Magistrate Davis Chiwili, who has granted the lawmaker's plea of bail application Tuesday morning, advised Mr. Zulu to attach seriousness to his criminal trial, as failure to do so will result in him facing more consequences. Magistrate Chiwili, who has granted Mr. Zulu a 200,000 bail in his own recognizance, with 2 working sureties bound in similar conditions, said he was not going to entertain any drama from the accused. Mr. Zulu, who secured himself bail this morning, had his police bond revoked on the 7th of July 2023 by the Chief Resident Magistrate following his failure to appear before court twice. On the actual day, the accused was also found guilty of contempt of court and fined 200 kwacha, while his surety was ordered to pay 100,000 kwacha cash for failing to facilitate the accused appearance before court. The outspoken lawmaker is appearing before the subordinate court on charges of libel after he accused Finance Minister Dr. Stombeko Mosokotwane and his infrastructure and urban development counterpart Charles Milupi of receiving bribes. Knowing that he will continue to remain detained despite securing his bail, Mr. Zulu, in the company of his lawyers, rushed to another magistrate who had placed him on bench warrant to plead. Mr. Munia Zulu was placed on bench warrant by Magistrate Sylvia Munyinya after he failed to fulfill his surety obligation. He had signed as surety for former presidential political advisor Kaiza Zulu. However, Mr. Kaiza Zulu has been at large. The lawmaker was, however, advised to appear before court on the 18th of July 2023, as it is the date set for the return of bench warrant. Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News. Quite interesting there, but anyway, but despite Mr. Munia Zulu being granted a 200,000 kwacha bail yesterday in his own recognizance, he still remains in custody. This is because Mr. Zulu, the lawmaker, signed as surety for Mr. Kaiza Zulu, who is the former presidential political advisor. Unfortunately, Mr. Kaiza Zulu is at large at the moment and has not been appearing before court, leaving his surety, Mr. Munia Zulu, in hot soup with the court. So Mr. Munia Zulu was issued a bench warrant in that same court. Yeah.
Wow, interesting stories there coming from the court, and we continue to update you on those stories as Miriam Kayamba goes to the court. And interesting enough, quite a number. But should I take a risk of signing a police bond for you?
That is a very good question.
Should I? I think no.
But no. Anyway, when signing, people would advise when you're signing a police bond for someone or bail for someone, you need to know them very well. But anyway, at the moment, the matters are still in court, and we don't know the reason why Mr. Kaiza Zulu has not been making his appearance before court, and this is in relation to a matter that is charged with not surrendering his diplomatic passport when he ceased holding his post in 2019. So unfortunately, Mr. Kaiza Zulu was found with a case to answer by the Lusaka Magistrate Court and placed on his defense, but apparently has not been coming to court, and he has not opened his defense to give the court his side of the story. So at the moment, we do not know the whereabouts. Even the court, despite issuing a bench warrant against Mr. Kaiza Zulu, they do not know his whereabouts. But also, the unfortunate part is that Mr. Munia Zulu, who signed as surety for Mr. Kaiza Zulu, found himself, the court issuing a bench warrant against him, because at the time he was also not appearing before court. Because the unfortunate part is that in his own case that he's facing before a different magistrate, he was issued with a bench warrant also.
Interesting explanation there. And we hope to get to the bottom of the matter. I'll think twice before signing for Isaac Chifita or whatever, whoever. I'll think twice. But I'll still sign anyway. I'll still sign because they are my comrades.
Still sign for them.
I don't think Miriam can run away. No, she can't.
No, I don't plan to commit any crime.
Yeah, that's good. So no wonder I can vouch for you, because I know you won't even go near that.
No, I won't. I won't.
So I know I'm safe, because I know you won't even get involved in crime.
No.
So so I'm safe. But moving on, they also had an interesting story coming from the Jesuit Center for Theological Reflections at JSTR, as reported that the cost of living for a family of 5 in Lusaka for the month of June 2023 increased by 162 kwacha. JSTR Social and Economic Development Program Manager Muchimbasi Amachoka has attributed the increase in the basket to price increases in the food items such as beans, cooking oil, bananas, and fresh milk. Ms. Siamachoka says the basket increased to 9,000 kwacha, 239.45 ngwe from 9,070 kwacha recorded in May this year. She says the center has observed that the cost of living continues to remain high and unattainable for the vast majority. So that's a story pertaining to the high cost of living as measured by the Jesuit Center for Theological Reflections on a monthly basis.
Cost of living for a family of 5, as measured by the Jesuit Center for Theological Reflection, JCTR, Basic Needs and Nutrition Basket in the month of June 2023 in Lusaka stood at 9,239 kwacha, 0.45 ngwe. This signifies an increase of 161 kwacha, 0.52 ngwe. The basket's upward movement can be attributed to price increases in food items such as beans, cooking oil, bananas, and fresh milk. Downward movements were noted in the prices of vegetables, other fruits, and charcoal. During the month under review, the Zambian kwacha continued to depreciate against major currencies such as the United States dollar. The currency did strengthen towards the end of the month following the announcement of the country's debt restructuring agreement. Reviewing the basket trends, JCTR observes that the cost of living continues to remain high and unattainable for the vast majority. At mid-year point, the cost of living in Lusaka averaged at 9,100 kwacha, with the national average basket standing at 6,400 kwacha, significantly higher than the average monthly income of 4,215 kwacha as per Labor Force statistics.
Yes, of course, I've heard about the increase in meal prices, and that is expected. But I really want to call upon the public and all the people involved in agriculture to be fair when dealing with stakeholders. In the past, the maize value chain has always favored the millers and the consumers and not the farmer. And that's where the mistake has been. And now that the maize price has gone up, it means the farmer is also benefiting. And without the farmer, there's no miller and the consumer has nothing to eat. And we should see it that way. And so all these processors and other people making noise over maize minimum prices should realize that without the farmer, we can't have the commodity on the market. And so what I can tell you that the future is bright, because with this high maize price, we expect a lot of farmers to increase their area planted under maize. And we also expect new farmers to begin to produce maize because of the attractive price. With that in place, we'll expect a mega bumper harvest.
Well, there you have it. That's a story coming from the Jesuit Center for Theological Reflections area, talking about the cost of living as for the month ended. And we also looked at a story pertaining to an agricultural economist, Edify Hamukare, talking about the cost of meal. He's justifying that, saying that there is no way Zambians should expect the price of the commodity to reduce, considering that we had an increase in terms of the buying price as we announced by the Food Reserve Agency, FRA. So those are the concerns that are coming from Mr. Hamukare, and interesting enough, there, I hope you did get this perspective. There's been divergent views. Zambians are not understanding and or buying this story. So it's going to take a while for people to buy in, because now buying a bag of meme has become a difficult undertaking.
It has become, and last week I was on the ground, Soko, just interviewing some residents in Mississippi compound who said, you know, government should consider helping in chipping in, moving in to ensure that, you know, we control the price of the commodity, which is mealie meal, because in that area a 25 kg bag of mealie meal is fetching between 215 and 230 kwacha. So people were complaining, and you know, you find Mississippi, this is a shanty compound, so the majority of people there are not well to do, you know, they're vulnerable. So you find that even a house that they are renting, some are even paying as low as 100 kwacha rent fee. So you find a bag of mini meal is more than the price of a house that you are paying.
Exactly.
So those are the concerns now people have. Why should I be buying a bag of mini meal more than the house I'm paying? And in this house I'm staying for 30 days.
Yeah, interesting.
These are the debates anyway. But we hope that all this issue will be adequately addressed so that, the price of commodity, just like the way the United Party for National Development had earlier promised during their campaigns that a bag of mini meal will be fetching at 50 kwacha, people are hoping to see that promise being actualized. Yeah.
Interesting. So you can get to look at the other story. Do we have any other story we are zooming in?
So one of an interesting story we have is coming from the High Court, where an 80-year-old man of Kavuma village in Chongo district, who was accused of trafficking in 68 grams of marijuana in 2022 but later acquitted, has dragged the state to the Lusaka High Court for unlawful prosecution. Mr. Tai Mwape had earlier commenced his petition before the Constitutional Court but later discontinued it. According to his petition, Mr. Mwape contends that prior to his recent arrest and acquittal, the Drug Enforcement Commission had arrested him for a similar offense where he was convicted despite failure by the state to determine that the required quantity of tetrahydrocannabinol, which is delta-9 THC, in the said drug. According to the Narcotic Drug and Psychotropic Act of 2021, to ascertain the presence of marijuana in a product, there should be over 0.3% of tetrahydrocannabinol, which is delta-9 THC.
Let's look at
Quite
that.
interesting. An 81-year-old man who recently walked to freedom on marijuana charges has retained his earlier position to discontinue the case against the state and decided to continue with his lawsuit. Tai Mwape of Kavuma village in Chongo district had filed a petition against the state before the Constitutional Court immediately after he was acquitted from allegations of trafficking in 68 grams of marijuana. On the 29th of June 2023, Mr. Mwape discontinued his petition before the Constitutional Court. But desirous to pursue his lawsuit against the state, Mr. Mwape has rushed back to court, this time the Lusaka High Court, with similar reliefs that his arrest and prosecution was unlawful. In a petition filed before court, Mr. Mwape contends that prior to his recent arrest in November 2022 and acquittal, the Drug Enforcement Commission had arrested him for similar offense earlier where he was convicted despite failure by the state to determine the required quantity of delta-9 THC in the said drug. According to the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Act of 2021, to ascertain the presence of marijuana in a product, there should be over 0.3% of tetrahydrocannabinol, also known as delta-9 THC. In November 2022, Mr. Mwape was arrested for trafficking in 68 grams of marijuana without authorization and had told the Lusaka Magistrate Court that he was using the said for medical purposes for his grandson. Luckily, in January 2023, he was acquitted after establishing that the prosecution team failed to determine the required quantity of delta-9 THC in the drug. Mr. Mwape, who now claims that he was earlier unlawfully prosecuted and convicted for a similar offense, is seeking damage. The 81-year-old also wants the court to order that his previous arrest, prosecution, and conviction without establishing the content of delta-9 THC in the substance allegedly in possession was unconstitutional, illegal, and void. In his petition, the plaintiff has cited the Attorney General and the Drug Enforcement Commission as respondents. Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News. Quite interesting there, we hope, and anyway, we wait to see how that story unfolds before the court. The Lusaka High Court. It was first before the Constitutional Court, but later discontinued by Mr. Tai Mwape, an 81-year-old man from Kavuma village, and now he has commenced his petition before the Lusaka High Court, seeking the same reliefs that his prosecution by the Drug Enforcement Commission was unlawful because they failed to determine the 0.3 in the said marijuana that he was caught with. Anyway, we hope to see the outcome of this case. Anyway, as we come to the conclusion of our program this morning, what are some of your ending remarks?
Well, interesting. I hope you did manage to follow the Camnet Breakfast Show for this day, Wednesday edition, where we focus on governance, policy, and politics. Tomorrow, be sure to join us with another interesting edition of the Camnet Breakfast Show as we bring to you a guest to discuss topical issues that have been happening pertaining to the political fraternity. But just now, we are going to excuse the screen, but remember to always keep it on Camnet TV, because Camnet TV is not just another channel.